Just this weekend, Vern Buchanan was among 86 Republicans who opposed a crucial amendment to the FISA, which is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, that would require warrants to spy on Americans. This isn't new. Vern Buchanan has been giving close to unlimited power to the FBI to hide and become a secret political force in the United States. And any student of history would recognize how dangerous this is. Now, as of this weekend, the FBI can spy on any American citizen without a warrant. I had developed a friendship with Stephen Friend, an FBI whistleblower. He describes it this way. So just great job. I really appreciate it. Steve Friend, FBI whistleblower. Is that the introduction that you would like? Would you say it differently?
Yeah, that's fine with me. I consider myself a recovering FBI agent, senior fellow at the Center for Renewing America, and I have the podcast which I host, which is the American Radicals podcast. But I think I'm best known as being the FBI whistleblower, small member of a cadre of individuals that we've pushed things out for the last year and a half. We call ourselves the Suspendables. Well, the FBI itself will tell you that one of its prime directives is to liaison and partner and assist local agencies like sheriff's departments and police departments. And they do that. They have the lab that is available. If the local agency requests assistance, the FBI is supposed to be there to do that in any capacity that they're able to do. But the FBI has a pretty narrow focus. They are only around to enforce the federal law, which is why the FBI can't bring something like a murder charge unless it's a special jurisdiction. That's not a federal crime. So the way that they interface with local agencies, the most useful thing for the FBI is to essentially deputize members of a local agency like a sheriff's office. They'll take them on as task force officers. The agency itself will nominate someone or multiple people to become task force officers for the FBI. And there's lots of different task forces that operate within the FBI. It could be a Safe Streets, which is supposed to be focusing on gang activity. It could be trans organized crime, Western Hemisphere, like drugs, bank robberies. It could even go white collar. That's pretty rare. But the big one also is Joint Terrorism Task Force, and that's a national security thing. Now, those guys, when they come over, the U.S. Marshal will swear them in. They'll have federal arrest authority in addition to their state arrest authority. And they're supposed to be a force multiplier for the FBI because the FBI doesn't have enough people to actually fulfill its charge. There's only 14,000 armed special agents around the country. So it's a population of 350 million people. It's kind of difficult to do what the FBI needs to do. So they reach out to those local agencies and they offer them lots of goodies as well. They give them training opportunities, equipment, they furnish them a vehicle, and then they also pay overtime expenses. So if a deputy comes along, he still has his salary from the local sheriff's office, but any overtime that he accrues, the federal government will pay all of that, and essentially unlimited, which means that it's pretty valuable for a local agency because it's essentially golden handcuffs to them that they can have the promise of being a membership in this task force that's going to serve the community, and they don't have to actually come out of their pocket to do it.
I met with Sheriff Rick Wells about 3 months ago and talked to him about the issues facing Manatee County. He told me at that time that he was not endorsing, and now 2 days after Vern Buchanan gives the FBI everything that it wanted, now Sheriff Wells endorses Vern Buchanan. I asked my friend, Stephen Friend, if there was any potential connection between Vern Buchanan's vote this weekend and the subsequent endorsement by Sheriff Wells. Here's what Stephen Friend, the FBI whistleblower, had to say. What is it? Could you see the FBI exerting influence to have a sheriff, an existing sheriff, to endorse the establishment, the pro-FBI candidate, using these levers?
Well, I think there's a mutual understanding between the FBI and the local agency as far as accepting a candidate, and it would be up to the FBI's purview. They could reject anyone. So that certainly lends itself to the ability to have that. To your situation, I would need to see the actual evidence, but you could see how that is clearly an availability to them. The FBI could exert an influence on a sheriff and say, we're not going to allow your people to come in, and you're not going to be able to collect all that sweet overtime unless you do something politically. Now, the FBI will contend that it's not a political organization, but we've seen anything other than that, all evidence to the contrary from how it's comported itself over the last few years.
So this endorsement of Vern Buchanan is suspicious to me. Vern Buchanan gives the FBI everything that they wanted, and then 2 days after this vote, Sheriff Wells endorses Vern Buchanan. Sheriff Rick Wells says that Congressman Buchanan is a fierce defender of local law enforcement. Well, let's investigate that claim. Here are notes from the Freedom Index, a scorecard of constitutional votes by Congress. And it didn't take Vern Buchanan long. In 2007, he voted for COPS funding, which was a federal aid to local law enforcement program, which was not only unconstitutional, but it also further federalizes the police system. This is dangerous. Now, again, we need to think of the Gestapo, a secret political police force. And nationalized police is dangerous to a constitutional republic and a democracy. Then, in 2009, more COPS funding, more federalizing of the police system. And then, in 2014, the militarizing of local police. The proper role of local police is undermined by converting them into militarized units more suitable for occupying hostile territory than protecting their local communities from the criminal element. I also find it interesting that providing in this bill, H.R. 4870, that providing local police with free U.S. military equipment also greases the skids for more federal control. Now that is what constitutionalists and people, Republicans who believe in limited government, should be concerned about. That this would ultimately lead to a nationalized police force, beholden to Washington as opposed to independent police departments. And then this continued in 2016 with the Counter-Terrorist Radicalization Act, which again is providing federal training to state and local law enforcement programs that's not only unconstitutional, but again further federalizes the police system. We see a common theme through Vern Buchanan's voting record. And again here, this time under the auspice of school violence. School safety is not the proper function of the federal government, and it further moves to nationalizing local police. And the latest one in 2018, which is H.R. 3249, this law enforcement partnership grants undercuts and undermines the local police and puts them further under federal control. As you can see, Vern's voting record has been supporting the FBI and the continued growth of Washington, D.C.'s control over our lives and over our local law enforcement. Congressman Vern Buchanan is not a fierce defender of local law enforcement. In fact, it's the exact opposite. We don't want the FBI controlling local police. And we certainly don't want the FBI controlling a local sheriff to the point where he's endorsing a candidate who is voting to give the FBI more and more control and power at a time when the FBI has proven to not be worthy of that level of control and power and money. We shouldn't be giving them a brand new headquarters when they are in the middle of silencing and censoring free speech within social media. When the government fears the people, we have liberty. And when the people fear the government, then we have tyranny. We can fight against this totalitarian control and recognize the dangers that are happening right now before our eyes. Please follow the website, follow me on social media, and become a spearhead to help get the word out that there is a choice. There is a true constitutional conservative choice in Florida's 16th district. Eddie Speir for Congress. And remember, if you're going to take out a rhino like Vern Buchanan, you're going to need a spear.